Hey everyone, today I am in Catoosa, Oklahoma at the Dick Duck Cemetery, and there's someone in here that I want to take a look at and explain a little more about him. If you keep driving until you hit this sign, Section D, and go directly behind it, you'll find the man that we're looking for. We're talking about Bluford Duck. And it's a funny sounding name. But here he is. He also had the nickname Blue. But he was a Cherokee Indian and he was an outlaw. His Cherokee name was Shakonga, if I'm saying that correctly and not butchering it. But Bluford Duck is what he was known by. And he was a famous outlaw. He ran around with the outlaw that you might have heard of, Belle Starr. And it's also been said that he was romantically involved with Belle Starr, although there's nothing confirming that. Regardless, when Belle Starr married Sam Starr, they formed a gang where they were robbing banks and stealing horses. And Bluford ran around with them through the 1870s and into the 1880s. Now, this name might sound familiar with you, especially if you've ever watched the miniseries Lonesome Dove. There's a character in there, Blue Duck or Bluford Duck, that was loosely based on this guy. Now, in that miniseries, Blue was a Choctaw Indian that was a rapist and a murderer and just one bad Indian. In real life, he was not a rapist, but he was an outlaw who stole horses and robbed banks. Now, in the 1880s, he made a mistake. He was with another outlaw, William Christie, and they came upon a farmer with the last name Wyrick or Wyrick, W-Y-R-I-C-K. And when they came up on this farmer, they unloaded their revolvers on this farmer and just shooting him dead for no reason whatsoever. And there was actually a witness to this crime, which was a young Indian boy. And so Bluford and William saw this boy and they turned their revolvers on him and tried to kill him as well. Now, they did not kill this young Indian boy, but they did shoot the horse out from underneath him. Eventually, a U.S. Marshal caught Bluford and then took him to Fort Smith, where he was tried underneath Judge Parker, and he was sentenced to hang. Now, there was a plea bargain and his sentence was reduced, and it was reduced to life in prison. So at that point, he was sent to Illinois, where he began his life sentence. Now, what happened was, when he was in prison, he ended up catching the disease tuberculosis, and he wasn't given very long to live. So at that time, the president pardoned him. The president was Grover Cleveland. And when he was pardoned, he came back to Catoosa, Oklahoma, where he lived out the rest of his life, which was really short. It was basically only a month. And you can see here he died in 1895, May 7th. 36 years old. But he didn't live here very long, and he's buried in the Dick Duck Cemetery. In fact, I think this might be where the cemetery gets its name, and I'm sure that this is a relative, but I'm not sure how. Now, there are several ducks in this cemetery. This is Richard Duck, and so I think that that's probably where the Dick Duck Cemetery gets its name. And like I said, there's only 2 ducks right here that I've seen, just looking around real quick. This headstone is fairly worn. It says Holy Bible up there. It might have said something else and it's maybe just worn down. And then down at the bottom, the epitaph says, faded on earth to bloom in heaven. Gone but not forgotten. So like I said, he was a Cherokee Indian outlaw, and famous outlaw that ran with Belle Starr, and kind of made even more famous by the Lonesome Dove series, but it's a little inaccurate as to who he really was. He was not a Choctaw Indian at all, and in fact in that miniseries it has him as a half-breed Choctaw Indian when he was in fact Cherokee. Just another famous outlaw in Oklahoma that you can come visit. Really easy to find, and his headstone stands out. So if you're ever traveling through Catoosa, Oklahoma, maybe you're stopping at the Blue Well or something on Route 66, this is only about 1.5 miles off of the Route 66. Just stop in Dick Duck Cemetery, come take a gander at Bluford Duck. Maybe one of the strangest sounding outlaw names you'll ever hear. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.